So, Elden Ring has been out for a little while now, and I still on a daily basis see comments of people saying they refuse to play the game, they don't want to go near it looks boring, and all that sort of stuff. So what I wanted to do in this video is briefly talk about a couple of reviews. I haven't seen them directly, I've seen the people reacting to them, and I want to point out that basically, a lot of people that are saying the game is bad have never actually tried the game themselves. And this isn't to hate on those people, it's to basically give the game a mini review and explain what you can expect from the game if you was to pick it up, having never played it before. So just quickly, before we do get any further into the video, if you are not currently subbed to the channel, make sure you do turn notifications on. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to leave a like, all support is greatly appreciated. And if you want to support me further as a creator, then check out the links in the description, and let's get into it. So there are reviews all over the place, there's been a load of copyright abuse and everything like that, all because of Elden Ring. And it typically happens when something is widely known. It's going to have a lot of people that love it, it's going to have a lot of people that hate it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I've watched a couple of videos from the Act Man, and I've also been watching quite a lot of Asmongold. And I really enjoy their content personally. And some of the videos I have seen from them are them reacting to some of the reviews for Elden Ring. People saying Elden Ring is bad, Elden Ring sucks, this game's trash, all this sort of stuff. And some of the reviews from people that are classing themselves as content creators are stating in their videos that they are not even playing the game and they can already tell you it's terrible. And a lot of people do get this confused. I've had it a lot in the past myself. There is a fine line between the first impressions and the review. A review will typically be done when you've played most, if not all of the game. It's preferred that you play the entire game from start to finish. But first impressions, at least in my personal belief, is when you play the first hour of a game, or something like that. So you have a first impression of the game itself, but you do actually play that game. And there are people out there saying it sucks, and their reasoning is nothing to do with the game itself, it's because the community is toxic. And yes, there are lots and lots of people that will just spam, get good, you're trash, all this sort of stuff. You see it absolutely everywhere, but this is not the only game that happens for. There was even a review for this game from someone that said the game sucks, it's really bad, they didn't know where to go first because the game doesn't explain anything. And they said they had a really, really bad time because the first NPC you come across being white-faced Vare, he stands at the site of grace at the first step in Limgrave, and this person that reviewed the game attacked him, then complained about him aggroing the player time and time again, and said that he only hit him once. He said, I hit him and he started attacking me for no reason. He even asks in his dialogue, are you sure you want to do this? And not only that, it takes 3 hits of a weapon to trigger the aggro of this NPC. But not only that, if you do aggro him and you get away, you can go to a place in the game called the Church of Vows, you can receive absolution, and you can clear that aggro. Some people honestly just come into this game with a really negative mentality. And I've probably done that with games in the past, but I've learned from my mistakes and I've moved on. And regardless of any game I play now, whether that's one in the next month or one in the next 3 years, I'm 100% going to be giving it a much better chance because the games deserve it. Some games might have bugs, but the gameplay might really push the bugs down to feeling like a minimum or feeling as though they're not even there. The gameplay might be that good. Like in Elden Ring, a lot of people complain about the graphics, but I don't care about the graphics. The gameplay is so good, the graphics don't make a difference. But not only that, the game does look beautiful in a lot of areas as well. All you have to do is go down to Nokron and you see all the stars and everything is like a little galaxy down there. It's fantastic. And with that being said, Elden Ring is one of my favourite games in actually quite a few years. I haven't enjoyed any game as much as I am enjoying Elden Ring for a long time now. Those of you familiar with the channel will know that I kind of transitioned from ranting about absolutely everything over to doing videos for Elden Ring, and now even playing other games, my content is a lot more positive. Every now and then, of course, I will sit there and have a moan up, but what I'm going to be doing with every single game I play from now on, whether it's on the channel or not, I am going to go in with the idea that this was created for fun, and I will only play games that I am having fun on. If there are bugs and stuff that annoy me to the point of not wanting to play it, I'm not going to sit there and rant. If a game really, truly deserves a rant, I will do the one-offs. They're not going to be completely gone off the channel. But Elden Ring has changed the way I look at games now. It's completely, fully changed how I look at games. And that's probably because I haven't ever really played a Souls game. Never, been into them or anything like that. And I started seeing more and more content being produced for Elden Ring, and no, this does not have anything with me getting a huge amount of views from videos for the game. This is all things that I believe in, but I started getting hyped for the game maybe a week or two before it released. Then it came out, I got into it, and my god, was it so confusing to get into as a new player to, even the Dark Souls series as a whole, but to get into Elden Ring specifically, it was really, really tough. And I think a lot of people will agree with that. It's not something you can go and just jump into the game and, oh my god, you're going to complete it in a few hours. Playthroughs will take you a long, long time, but one of the really, really good things about Elden Ring is how much exploration there is to be done. You have multiple different regions that are absolutely massive. There are dungeons, or as they're known, catacombs. There is so much content to explore, and when you think you're done, it opens up even more. There's underground sections. There are complete regions under the ground as well. You have 2 different layers to your world map. If anyone is looking for a game, whether you're going to absolutely love it or hate it, just in general, if anyone is looking for a game that's going to last you hours and hours and give you value for your money, Elden Ring is that. There are issues, don't get me wrong, the game is not perfect. There are a lot of people AFK farming for runes in PvP. There are balancing issues in general, there are some bugs here and there. There's frame rate issues on different platforms and stuff. It has its bugs, but those bugs are nowhere near as bad as some other games. And they don't happen anywhere near as often as what they happen in other titles. But not only, the game works, but it's got so much content to it, and just the bosses themselves. I think there are over 150 bosses in this title, and each one has their own sort of unique moveset, unique defenses, and all this sort of stuff. There is so much variety in the way you are going to fight enemies in this game. But not only that, I think it has a good layer of progression. You basically start off in a place called Limgrave. You progress, you go to Gatefront up to Stormhill, and then you can go around the side of Stormvale Castle, or try and go through and take down the first major boss being Godric. Then you make it into Liurnia Lake, and it gets a little bit more difficult there, and as you progress through the game, the difficulty ramps up and gets higher and higher. And I think they did that system really well. But another thing is, these enemies and bosses in the game will have resistances. So if you're running a strength build, some of them might have a higher resistance against physical attacks. So you then have to go and change your build out. And if you've been around the channel for a little while, you'll see how many build videos I post, and they're all pretty much unique. Sometimes I might run one different weapon, compared to a previous build. Other times I might just switch out the talismans. But there's always improvements and new things to still come from builds, and they're putting out updates that are not only nerfing a couple of things and creating a better balance, but they're also buffing a lot of stuff too. If you take for an example Outriders and their first patch a week after the game released, they pretty much nerfed everything that was powerful into the ground. And I think with Elden Ring it was about 3 weeks before they put out their first patch, but they only nerfed a couple of things that were really, really standing out. And they buffed a load of stuff at the same time, so the players had variety in what they were using to complete the game, and progress through the bosses. And that was patch 1.03, where Hoarfrost Stomp and Sword of Night and Flame got nerfed. And in that same patch, they buffed the arcane. They fixed it so that it scales properly with weapons, and now everyone is going to bleed weapons. Then what they did in patch 1.04, everyone thought they were going to nerf a weapon called the Rivers of Blood because of how powerful it was, but they didn't. They didn't specifically touch that weapon. What they did do was nerf a couple of things here and there, but I'm going to say it was on the scale of, I'd like to say 15 or 20 to 1. For every one nerf, there were 15 or 20 buffs. There were so many things that got buffed in that patch, it was unreal. And I have to give credit to the developers. They're doing a fantastic job. They might not be getting out fixes for things that people want fixed as quick as they might like it, But they are still putting effort into this game, and there's no major stability issues when they release a patch. And that seems to happen with quite a few games. But you jump into Elden Ring, you start off at a low level, you choose your character class, you get into Limgrave, you start learning the ropes, then you make a little bit of progress, you get stuck on a boss, so you leave that boss, you go to another area, you level up a little bit more, then you go back and you wipe the floor with that boss, and you are so fucking happy when you do it. If you have not picked up Elden Ring at this point, I cannot recommend it anymore. I have well over 500 hours into this game, and it's not even been out for 2 months at the time of me recording this video. Granted, some of it is me just sitting at a site of grace whilst I'm editing videos and creating thumbnails and stuff, but a lot of that 500 plus hours, I think I've got 460 hours on one character, and a lot of that time is me just exploring. There is still stuff now on my main character with over 450 hours that I still haven't obtained. There are still bosses that I haven't taken down. There is so much to do in this game. You are 100%, even if you don't fully enjoy it, you are 100% going to get value out of your money with this title. But there are people that are just saying the game's shit, it sucks, it's terrible, it's overrated, all that sort of stuff. There was even developers for other games getting jealous of just how good Elden Ring is. And no, the game's not going to appeal to everyone. This isn't me saying you've got to go buy this game right now, this is the best game in the world. This is me just saying if you are a little bit concerned, skeptical, afraid, whatever sort of term you want to put to it, if you are unsure about buying the game, I would strongly recommend just picking it up and trying, because I reckon you will have fun. There's a much bigger chance of having fun than what there is being annoyed. You might get stressed and frustrated here and there with a boss, but then you can just go and do something different. You don't have to bang your head against the wall with the same boss over and over again, because you can move to a different area, level up and go back. And when you are struggling a little bit and you might die 20, 30 or even 50 times to the same boss, you level up a little bit, you change your build around, you go back, you absolutely destroy this boss, and the sense of accomplishment you are going to feel is incredible. I must have sat there, even cheesing the penultimate boss, basically the final boss in the game. There's a 2-for-1. So if we just say they count as 2 separate bosses, even though they are in the same boss fight, even cheesing the penultimate boss, the one before the very last boss, even cheesing that one, I still struggled with the final boss. It must have taken me, I don't know, an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, to just sit there over and over again, smacking my head against that wall, giving myself a headache. But in the end, when I took down that final boss, it felt so relieving. All the pressure disappeared, all the stress disappeared, and I was so happy to get that boss taken down. And I strongly feel at least 90 to 95% of players will feel that same feeling. This isn't a game that was designed for people to just jump in and do everything in one sitting. This game will have you coming up with strategies, learning boss moves, making natural progression, but a lot of people will say that this game is too hard for what it is. One of the trends I think is still going around now is harassing the developers for an easy mode. But I can tell you right now, this game is fairly difficult if you're starting with a standard sort of build, and especially if you're inexperienced, you're going to feel that difficulty curve. But when you get further into the game and you get that little bit more experience, I'd say, I don't know, maybe 4 or 6 hours into the game or something, as long as you're actually trying to get into it, once you start putting a decent build together, there are so many options out there to basically add your own easy mode into the game. Right now, if someone has played, I'm going to say over 5 hours, and they're still finding it incredibly difficult, this maybe isn't a game for them. But if someone has never played it and they're saying, I'm not going to jump into the game, I've heard that it's far too hard. Personally, after the amount of time I've put into it, the amount of different builds I've gone through, the amount of videos I've created, the amount of gameplay I actually have, game time I have, I don't think Elden Ring is difficult whatsoever. And I absolutely suck. You watch some of my build videos, the showcases, I die over and over again. And that's just trying to show off a build. That's not even really attacking enemies. There's a region in the game called Caelid. I go over there to attack these dogs, and these rams get involved and they mess me up. There's an enemy that stands in Caelid as well called the Blackblade Kindred, and I still haven't taken him down. The only time I will take that guy down is when I find a build that is strong enough to one-tap him. I like leaving him there purposely for my build video showcases. And there's an item in the game called Rune Arcs, and you do find these in the open world, but they are typically found in PvP, I am running out of them very quickly, because once you activate one, it gives you benefits based on the great rune you are equipping or activating. And then those benefits disappear upon death. And the amount of times Blackblade Kindred has killed me over and over again whilst I'm trying to showcase a build. But I go back and I do it all over again. So there is probably a part of being a masochist and all that stuff in there. But I strongly, strongly believe if you've never played the game, if you've played a very small amount of the game, I think you should give it a better chance. Because I think a lot of people that are skeptical about this, they are unsure about Elden Ring, I think a lot of those players, if they got into it and gave it at least a few hours, they would thoroughly enjoy themselves. For a video game that was released in 2022, I think it's an absolute game changer. There is so much content available. It's got an okay storyline to it as well. There's quite a lot of lore behind it. But the gameplay cycle, the variety of weapons and bosses, the fact there are so many bosses and so much content, so many different regions, I honestly don't think there is going to be competition or too much competition for Game of the Year. But, as always, that is my personal opinion. What we are going to do, so that I don't carry this on for the next 45 minutes, because I easily could, we are going to leave the video there. So what I want you guys to do is let me know your thoughts and stuff about Elden Ring in the comments, and I will see you in the next video. I hope you guys enjoyed it.